Hey everyone, it's Mega Champ once again. And, nobody should really be surprised at this point that my first video of the year, it just had to be this. Because of course it did. Because of course it did. It just had to be this. There was really no other option. What else was it gonna be? What else was it gonna be? I finished Pokemon Scarlet to my liking a couple days ago. Some things have been going on, but nobody cares about other people's problems. You don't really need to care about my problems because my problems are my problems, and everyone's problems are their own problems. So, yeah. You know what? Let's just get into it because there's really nothing to really be said at this point. I've given up. That's the long and short of it. I have given up when it comes to the Pokemon and its fan base. Because clearly the only thing they have shown and proven time and time and time again ad infinitum to no end, and what I like to call an infinite loop, is that they're never going to learn. And that they're going to cup their hands over their ears like a mental 5-year-old and scream la 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 whenever you talk to them. Tell me when I'm telling lies. So I've given up at this point, and I have always stated, and I will always state, and I will continue to state, that I am never going to believe this shit. And I will always judge things for myself, because that is what is going to determine on if I like something or not. Yes, there are times when I do agree with the majority opinion. I don't necessarily like it when I agree with the majority opinion, but it does happen. Most of the time, I'm in a vast minority opinion. And an even more brutal honesty for you, most of the time, I think something that very little other people think. I feel a certain way that very little other people think. This is why whenever I tell people the truth that they don't want to hear and give them brutal honesty, they act like I'm the villain, I'm the asshole, and I'm the conspiracy theorist, because they don't like being told brutal honesty and they don't like hearing the truth that they really don't want to hear. But I've practically gotten used to that. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing is subjective, I guess. But this is just the situation, and this has been the situation that I've been in for probably at least a couple years now. Probably at least a couple years. I don't give a fuck. I never have, and I probably never will. Welcome to my full thoughts video for Pokemon Scarlet. We're off to a great start, aren't we? The following video is my opinion and my opinion alone. My thoughts, feelings, and experiences on the game. You can feel however you want. You can have whatever opinion you want. Everyone can feel however they want. Everyone can have the opinion that they want. Guess what? That means I can feel however the fuck I want and have whatever fucking opinion I want. It's my personal thoughts, my video, just the way that I personally feel. I am no expert. I have never claimed to be an expert, nor will I ever claim to be an expert, because I'm clearly fucking not. And the Pokemon fan base are also not fucking experts. Imagine that concept. Imagine that concept. Unless you actually are a game developer or you work in a manner in which you can sort of claim expertise, nobody is an expert. Nobody is an expert. And even those types of people aren't full experts. This is all opinion and subjective at the end of the day. To the best of my ability, with as little spoilers as possible, I will be going over the story of the game, the characters of the game, the world and setting of the game where the game takes place, the graphics, and the gameplay. To the best of my ability. There are 3, maybe 4 things I need to make very clear before I get started here, which really isn't that fucking hard to figure out. Use a thing called logical reasoning. Number 1, I played Pokemon Scarlet on the original Nintendo Switch. In other words, Switch 1. Things did not work out for me when it comes to playing this game on Nintendo Switch 2. Would have things been massively different? Sure, you could make that argument, but I don't think it really would have made that much of a difference. And if it took a completely new Nintendo console, in this case Nintendo Switch 2, for this to actually be a well-run game, that's a fucking problem. That's a fucking problem. The point is, I played Pokemon Scarlet on Nintendo Switch 1. I'm sorry, there was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do. I did kind of want to play it on Switch 2, but there was nothing I could do. And I don't really see what you expect from me in order for that to somehow have been different. Number 2, I played this game 3 years, 2025 and 2026. So 3 years after this game came out, which was 2022. 3, 4, 5. That's 3 years, 4 if you want to count 2026, though I beat it this month, so you don't necessarily have to count 2026, but if you want to be technical, then sure. 3 to 4 years after its initial release. I did not play this game on release day. So you want to know what that means? That means a lot of its issues, we're going to be doing a lot of air quotes today, were likely fixed by now in that amount of time. Now, number 3, and let's be honest, I'm going to break this very quickly. I'm going to try my best. Key 3 words there, try my best. But no promises to not, that's not, N-O-T, go off the rails and shoot on things, as I am going to be using wrestling terminology once again and rant and go off on tangents or whatever wording you want to give. I'm going to try my best, but I can't make any promises. I cannot make any promises. And last but certainly least, number 4, I did not go around looking for issues or bugs and or glitches the entire fucking time I was playing the game. Wow, imagine playing a game and doing nothing but trying to find problems and bugs and glitches with it. What a concept. Oops, I broke number 3 already. Give me a fucking break. You have no life if you did that. Just saying. We're off to a wonderful start, aren't we? You should have already clicked off the video by now. You knew what you were getting into if you decided to listen to this. That's not on me. Okay, let's start with the story. There's actually 3 stories in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. One involving the gyms, Victory Road. One involving the quote-unquote evil team, Starfall Street. And one involving the legendary that you get very quick access to. Koraidon and Miraidon, seen here. The left is Koraidon for Pokemon Scarlet, and the right is Miraidon for Pokemon Violet. I chose Scarlet, and I played Scarlet because I liked him more. That was just my preference. I can't play both versions. It's too much of an investment. I only play one version. I pick a version. That's the version I play. That's how I do this shit now. So there you go. And that story is Path of Legends. So very quickly here. It is very fucking clear now at this point that the evil team is never going to be an actual threat ever again. Once again, the quote-unquote evil team is not an actual threat in the slightest. They're not a threat. Team Star is not a fucking threat. I'm sorry. They're not. Team Yell from last Pokemon generation, not a threat. Team Skull from the generation before that, not a fucking threat. Tell me when I'm telling lies. I guess actually evil teams really is dead. That's pretty fucking clear at this point. Sad and pathetic. That's fucking ridiculous. We have to protect our children. Oh yeah, that'll just bode so well for them. Bodes so well for them. The last actual team that was a legitimate threat is still Team Flare from X and Y. Now, if I'm being fucking nice, which you know I'm not, sure, you could throw out Aether Foundation if you want. The last legitimate actual threat was Team Flare. That shit's clearly dead. What a great creative decision that is. So great? Fucking not, but you know, what do I fucking know? None of these teams are clearly ever going to be a threat ever again. What a great decision. So great. So fucking great. Give me a fucking break. Okay, so, here we go. I'll be honest here, because I'm gonna be. I'm not going to baby you and pat you on the hand and hold your hand and tell you everything is going to be all right when that's not reality in the fucking slightest. But, you know, if you want to live in a fantasy world, that's your decision, I guess. The story isn't great in Pokemon Scarlet. At least not until the end of the game. And this is what I am going to refer to for the rest of this video. And maybe even in other situations if they end up happening. We'll see. It's what I like to refer to as a Dragon Ball Daima situation. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sorry about that in the slightest. That's not a good thing. Remember what won my personal award for Disappointment of the Year? Just because the ending is good doesn't make up for the rest of it. It doesn't in the slightest. The end of the game is good. I'm not sitting here telling you that it's not. It clearly is. It clearly is. But if 20% of the game is good and the other 80% is what I'm about to talk about here, the 20% does not make up for the 80%. This is not hard to figure out. Which percentage is higher? Come on, you can say it. It's the 80%. It's too samey. This game is too much of the same. Constantly. Constantly the same. It's all the same with literally no difference or nothing different in any way whatsoever. At least not until they introduce the ancient future paradox. Paradoxes must break. You know, nobody ever actually gets that reference when I make it. It's a reference to Final Fantasy 13-2 from lyrics of the best boss theme in that game, which is Worlds Collide. Paradoxes must break. My destiny may change my fate. The pain my heart feels is my strength. It's from that. That's what that is a reference to. But it's all pretty much the same until they introduce the ancient future paradox. Paradoxes must break Pokemon. But guess what? Happens one time in one of the stories. That's it. That is literally it. It's too much of the same. Nothing new or different at all. Yikes. That's a yikes. You're going to be hearing a lot of yikes. In other words, it's mostly boring. 80% boring or samey, 20% good. Which is the higher percentage? Use logical reasoning. Is the end of the game and its story good? Yes. Yes, it is. It's very good. Probably one of, if not the, very few high points of the game in general. But that doesn't make up for the rest of the game. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Like I stated already. I would say it's like 80% samey and then 20% good. But just because the last part of it is good does not make up for the other 80% of it being samey. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Which is the higher percentage? I'm going to beat this in your mind until it gets through, since this is the Pokemon fan base we're talking about. Now, specifically when it comes to the DLC, Teal Mask and Indigo Disc, the story is actually much better than the main game. It's sad how much better it is. Extremely better. Teal Mask and Indigo Disc were much more enjoyable. Well, mostly. Mostly. But we'll talk about that more in a bit. If you include the DLC, from my perspective at least, and clearly, again, I'm the dumbass here, from my perspective, that would push the percentage to 60% samey and 40% boring. Or 40% good, sorry. Let's try that again. 60% samey, 40% good. Which is the higher percentage? Which is it? So the characters in this game, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I hate repeating myself, as I have said to you before. Seriously, I do. But there's literally no choice here. Because the Pokemon fan base, they don't want to fucking listen, but I'm going to repeat myself. Pokemon games aren't about the characters. Mostly. I'm sorry, they just aren't. Sure, there are exceptions. Lily in Sun and Moon. And I have literally stated that the story of Sun and Moon was actually shockingly good and pretty much the only high point of that generation. But mostly, Pokemon games aren't about its characters. I'm sorry, they aren't. They aren't. You know this. I know this. Everyone knows this. When it comes to the characters specifically in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they're mostly fine, I guess. Arven is probably the best one, in all brutal honesty, with the most and best character development out of all of them. And there's 3 important characters for each of those stories I mentioned, outside of the gym leaders and the DLC characters. Penny, the Starfall Street character, has some character development, but for me at least, it's mostly meh. It's mostly meh. She's fine. It's meh. It's mid. Nimona. Oh, give me a break. Nimona has an obsession with Pokemon battles, and that's literally her entire character, and she doesn't change one bit in the slightest. Wow. That's so great. So great. So great. The most important character in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the Professor, Sada or Turo, depending on the version that you play. Sada in Scarlet, Turo in Violet. I could say more about the Professor, but it would technically be spoiler territory. But the story of the Professor and the character of the Professor is once again one of the few high points. Just saying, Arven and the Professor are pretty much probably the best characters of the game, but that's only 2. Wow, what a big number 2 is. But it's one of the few high points, just saying. The gym leaders, the Elite Four, the evil team, quote-unquote leaders, etc., and all of the other characters are just kind of there. They're just kind of there. They tried to do something with the evil team, quote-unquote leaders, which is fine, I guess. I kind of get it. But it was still mostly meh to me. And just a large amount of misunderstanding when it comes to Team Star and what they were doing and what they were being accused of and what was just going on around them in general. And all of this could have been avoided with actual investigative skills. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Just saying. The characters are mostly fine. Some are clearly better than others, but like I said at the start, Pokemon games aren't about its characters mostly. The DLC characters, Carmen, Kieran, and the Blueberry Academy Elite Four, are decent, I guess. But Carmen and Kieran are the most important ones. Once again, I'm not telling a lie here. They tried to do character with stuff with Carmen and Kieran, and it was, again, fine, I guess, but nothing outstanding. Kieran just becomes a brat, pretty much, has too much of an obsession, and then realizes that they're being a brat, and then stops. Wow. Wow. I wish I wasn't holding this mic so I could. Wow, that's so fucking wow. For fuck's sake. So I'm supposed to get all emotional over that, huh? Yeah, I think I'll take no for that option. Thank you. No is the option I choose. The world and setting of the game, Paldea, is the name of the region for this generation. It's based on Spain and Portugal. Spanish influence, pretty much. Not the Spanish Inquisition. You fucking meme enjoyer. Get that out. The region itself is fine, mostly. There's nothing really major in it, though, outside of Area Zero, the place in the middle, which is its most important area, so I guess that does make sense that it's the best area and the only... but, you know, it's one important area. One. Yeah, that's not great. Just saying. The rest of the locations are just the location of where the gems are. That's it. Nothing that really stood out again here mostly. In other words, Area Zero is the best part of the region. One area. One. Not great. Not great. So let's talk about the open world. Is it? Are you sure? Are you sure Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is an open world? Because there's literally nothing in it and it's mostly empty. Tell me when I'm telling lies. I even tried to walk to most of the locations. I'm not even kidding. And only ride Koraidon when absolutely necessary, and there was no choice but to do it. It's massively empty. It's massively empty. There is nothing in the open world outside of the Terra raids. Ooh, Terra raids! Give me a break. Yeah, they clearly jumped on that trend far too late. Do better. You can easily tell. This does not take rocket science. Open your eyes, stop having tunnel vision, and actually look around and pay attention to what is going on. You can easily tell how massively Pokemon's plans changed with the DLC areas. Kitakami is Johto-esque. Blueberry Academy is literally located in Unova. They literally state that in the DLC. The areas themselves were fine. But so much for Legends, Johto, and Unova remakes, huh? So much for that shit. They were clearly going to do that. It was clearly in their plans. It's literally in front of your eyes in the DLC. But they couldn't just redo everything, so they had to go through with it. You want to know what Pokemon's creative is like? It's Vince McMahon-esque. And that's not a good thing, just so you know. It's not a good thing. If I'm comparing a creative to Vince McMahon, you know you're fucked. Shit getting ripped up and rewritten hours before the show, or the release of the game in this instance. Yeah, that works out so well. So well. It doesn't. For fuck's sake. Oh, I'm not done. You should have already left. Okay, graphics. Oh boy, here we go. I'm not an expert. I never pretended to be or claimed to be an expert. Guess what? You aren't either. Nobody who complained is an expert either. Let's get that out of the way. Why do you want 4K Pokemon? Fuck. Why do you want HD 2D Pokemon? Neither one is the answer. Pokemon has never been, nor ever will be, about the graphics. The sooner everyone understands this, the better. But that clearly is never going to happen. Clearly. Look, is the graphics in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet a downgrade from Sword and Shield, the last Pokemon generation game? In many ways, yes, it is. And I will admit that, and I am literally sitting here admitting that to you. But let's not sit here and act like that shit didn't have problems and issues. It clearly did. It clearly did. Oh, the poor frames. My fucking God, those frames. God damn the frame rate. That final with Nimona. Oh my fucking God, those poor background characters with those shit frames. But let's not pretend that wasn't because I was playing the game on Switch 1. Don't deny this. You know this is true. Things just didn't work out for me to play it on Switch 2. I'm sorry, they just didn't. Yeah, the frames are bad. The pop-in. Somehow it's worse than Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And Sonic Frontiers. That's saying something. I mean, at least in Xenoblade Chronicles 3's, it was bearable. Mostly. Almost as bad, if not worse, than the pop-in in Sonic Frontiers. Pop, it's there. Pop, disappearing characters with floating Pokeballs being thrown and caught. If you are close to a trainer and you run into a wild Pokemon, they disappear and it's a floating Pokeball. Great work there. Great work. Things would go from being in the void, white, to just showing up out of nowhere or being incredibly stretched and then back to normal. Yeah, it's bad. That might be the worst I've seen, at least at minimum, in a very long time. I'm not going to sit here and say ever. It's fucking bad. It's bad. Pokemon sent to the back rooms. It's a thing. Look it up. It's a horror story trope thing. Pokemon in walls, cliffs, mountainsides. Yikes. Just yikes. My God. My God. Gameplay. Oh boy, here we go to Electric Boogaloo. What were you expecting? Seriously, what were you expecting? Explain to me what you were expecting when it comes to the gameplay in Scarlet and Violet. Were you expecting Legends Arceus? You shouldn't have. That shit is its own series now. The Legends games, Legends Arceus, Legends ZA, whatever the fuck else they decide to do with Legends, that's its own series now. And the shit they do in those games, they're never going to be in the main line or main new generation Pokemon games. Why are you expecting that? It will always be turn-based. Please realize this. But once again, that won't happen ever, clearly. When it comes to me, I'm fine with turn-based. Fucking loved Persona 5. Just saying. And look, yes, nobody has to scream at me. I know. Legend ZA decided to change things up with action-based. But that is not what I am talking about right now. This is not my full thoughts video on Legend ZA. This is my full thoughts video on Pokemon Scarlet. I'll talk about Legend ZA when I play it for myself. All I'm really trying to say here is, don't expect something like that to happen with the mainline or new generation Pokemon games, because it won't likely happen ever. If it does, I would honestly be shocked. I mean, this is admittedly still a time will tell, wait and see situation. But I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, Generation 10 is going to be turn-based. There is no doubt in my mind Generation 10 will be turn-based. If it changes, then we can readjust and, adapt. Because that's what you have to do. So one of the other few high points in this game is the Pokemon themselves. All of the Generation 9 Paldea Pokemon, all of the new ones they added for the region. I'm not going to list them all because I'll get the names wrong or forget them. That's another one of the few high points. Because I liked pretty much all of the Pokemon. Yes, all of them. Yes, even the paradoxes and the paradoxes must break, and the convergent forms or the regional fakes or whatever the fuck you want to call Wiglet and Toadscool, those Pokemon, so on and so forth. Here's the problem, though. These were basically the quote-unquote gimmicks for this generation, for Pokemon Generation 9, outside of the terrestrial phenomenon, the crystal stuff where you can make the Pokemon a certain type, whatever type you want. There's nothing for me to say about the terrestrial phenomenon. It's just one of the other gimmicks. I mean, I still like Mega Evolution the best, but that's just me. The terrestrial stuff was fine, but there were definitely some situations where yeah, it definitely was detrimental, let's put it that way. But when it comes to like the paradoxes and the regional fakes or convergent forms or whatever, do not expect them to come back because it was a part of the gimmick for Generation 9. Well, maybe. Hard maybe on that one. Time is clearly going to tell if they decide to bring back the convergent forms and the regional fakes and the same thing, and the paradoxes must break, but we'll see if they decide to bring that back. But just don't be surprised if they disappear into the ether like all of the other Pokemon gimmicks, except when they randomly decide to bring them back, like Mega Evolution for ZA. So mostly when it comes to Pokemon Scarlet, I didn't really struggle in the game for the most part, though I do need to talk about some things about that. This is mostly a good thing. There were a couple of times, and maybe a bit early, that I did struggle, but I either overcame it or got extremely lucky. Hey, luck counts, even though my luck is clearly shit, but there were only a couple of times in which I struggled, and we were about to talk about them, and I'm not going to think anything else other than that there was no goddamn fucking excuse for it. Okay, number 1, Hassel from the regular Elite Four in the Victory Road storyline. Dragon Terra type Baxcalibur Glaive Rush is fucking OP. It's overpowered. Nerf that shit. Give me a break. Here's the most important one and the most important part. The Indigo Disc, Blueberry Academy, Elite Four. I want someone to please fucking explain to me why they keep putting metagame competitive bullshit nonsense in single player. Explain. I do not, nor do I ever fucking want this shit. I don't care about it being, it's too easy, Or, it's not hard enough. Or whatever ridiculous ass excuse you want to use. You know it's a bullshit ass excuse. There is no excuse for this. I'm sorry. There's no excuse. Elite Four members in Blueberry Academy Indigo Disc took multiple attempts each for me, except one. I was forced to get my Pokemon team to the level 90s in order to succeed. I shouldn't have had to do that. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's the highest level I've ever had to get my Pokemon team in any game I've ever played in this entire franchise. I shouldn't have to do this bullshit. Get this fucking competitive bullshit out. Now. Get it out. Not everyone wants to transition to competitive Pokemon. Why is this hard to comprehend? For fuck's sake. Look. Overall, I did have fun with the game. At times. Sort of. Mostly. But at the end of the day, here's what I will admit to you. Now that I have gotten through the story of the game, the characters of the game, the world and setting of the game, the graphics, and the gameplay of Pokemon Scarlet. Here is what I will sit here and admit to you, which I literally am and about to. Everyone, when it comes to what everyone was saying about this game, when it comes to this, you are about to have a heart attack. Here's the thing. Everyone was right, but everyone also wasn't right about this game. So there was a lot of shit they were right about, but there was also a lot of shit they were wrong about. I would say everyone was mostly right about this game, but there was definitely a lot of shit they were not right about. Outside of the Pokemon themselves, the new ones for Paldea, the new Generation 9 Pokemon, this might have been the worst Pokemon game I've played since Pokemon Sun and Moon. And yeah, I just said that, and I still feel that way about those games, and I doubt I'll ever feel differently. This game was too much of the same, too samey, for the most part, until the end. But just because the end was good doesn't make up for the rest of the game, and neither does the DLC. Just because the DLC was good doesn't make up for the rest of it. Therefore, a Dragon Ball Daima situation. When you batch in the DLC, 60% samey, 40% good. Which is the higher percentage? Here's your obsession with, here's your Metacritic scores everyone wants to be fucking obsessed with. This is more accurate than this. By the way, I'm about to break number 3 again here. This shit does nothing. It does nothing. Why do you think this accomplishes anything? Do you think they're going to change? Sure, they waited 4 years this time, but I'm going to tell you right now, Generation 10 will be no different. It might be a big game key card for all we know. Oh boy, I can't wait for the Pokemon fan base to defend that. This accomplishes nothing. Sure thing. Sure thing, buddy. It accomplishes so much. It just accomplishes so much. Give me a fucking break. Do you want to know why I don't give games a score of anything like 5, around 5 or below? That shit is reserved for shit like Balan Wonderworld. That's what that shit is for. If Pokemon Sun and Moon is a 6, which it is, that means my score for this game is a 6.5. Guess what? There will be no difference for Generation 10. The infinite loop continues. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Thank God this game is going to save me. I'm finally going to experience Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII for myself. The remake, remaster, whatever you want to call the PS5 release of this game. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. That's my next game. I'd be lying if I was sitting here and told you that I wasn't at least eyeing the Platinum Trophy for this game, because it's only a 5 out of 10. It would still technically be the hardest Platinum I would attempt. We'll see what happens, but I'm not going to sit here and make any promises. It's a to-be-determined, we'll see situation when it comes to the Crisis Core FF7 Reunion Platinum, but that's my next game. And that's it. I have thoroughly pissed everyone off, and I still don't give a fuck. This is Mega Champ saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. And yes, I know this shit won't accomplish anything either. When did I say it would? When did I say it would? The Pokemon fan base won't learn. Game Freak won't learn. TPCI won't learn. Nintendo won't learn. The moral of the story, the too long didn't watch, nobody ever learns. Bye.